So now that I can say that I'm pregnant with twins, I want to do a first trimester recap. So my last video, I basically told you how we found out that we were pregnant with the twins, and how I had one OB office that like literally was like brushing me off, so we had to go to a whole completely different town, 45 minutes away from where we live, to basically figure it out, which in the end was a blessing in disguise, because the town that we live in, the hospital, usually if the twins can become full term, they will deliver them, but most of the time if there's any sort of complications, they kind of brush you off to this hospital anyways. So in the end, it really didn't matter. So I kind of want to go over the subchorionic hemorrhage, because that was the most scariest thing. The bleeding that I had was not monumental compared to some of the other stories that I've seen on YouTube. Like some people literally passing like giant clots, or like standing up and just blood gushing out. None of that happened to me, thank the Lord, because I think I would have lost my mind. I don't know how those women kept their brain intact, because that would have sent me off the chain. But I basically, for like the 2 weeks between our first appointment that we had with our OB, where we got to see them and they showed us the subchorionic hemorrhage, and she kind of just said, hey, you know, you're still really early, you know, things can still happen, you know, I'm not telling you to prepare for a miscarriage, but I'm just saying it could still happen. She was like, it can go either way, it's 50-50. So, but she was very optimistic. You know, she was just like, let's start talking about prenatals, let's start talking about gaining your weight. And that was one conversation before I get on to my subcarnot hematoma. Gaining weight. My OB is both of my OBs, actually, my high-risk doctor, my maternal fetal medicine doctor, and my regular OB, are so big on gaining weight. Like, given I was kind of a little bit overweight when I got pregnant, but they're just like, hey, we kind of recommend, especially for multiples, like you need to really focus on eating. And I know it's super hard on the first trimester, but they're like, if you can get it in any way you can get it in, you know, get it in. So basically I lived off of protein shakes for like 2 weeks, because I literally could not eat anything. Drinking things was totally fine, but oh my God, no. So the subcarnot hematoma, basically I wore a pad the first few days after our first appointment, like when we went to the hospital, the ER, to kind of monitor how much was coming out at a time. But most of the time it would happen when I peed. And basically the way it was stationed was kind of close to where, like, when you pee and like your just clamps just a little bit when you pee. It's just a little bit, it's not a lot, oh my God. But being a nurse, like, you know, she was talking to me like a nurse. And that's the only thing that Patrick has hated, because a lot of the doctors will use bigger terms, I guess, that they don't normally tend to use, and especially the ultrasound techs and stuff, because some of them won't even explain stuff to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know what I'm seeing. Given I am not labor delivery or OB nurse at all, but we do learn a little bit of stuff in school. So so he hates that sometimes, because then he'll be like, include the dumb one in the conversation. I'm gonna have to remind him that he's not dumb. But so she kind of just explained like where it was sitting. I may pass it, like it may come out like as a clot, or it may completely clot over, and sometime later on it may pass. Sometime later on it'll completely heal. My uterus will actually absorb it. So she was just like, it just depends. So when most of the time when I would bleed is when I would sit down to use the restroom, and when I would wipe blood. So that's why at first I wasn't sure if I had a UTI or my kidneys were bleeding. That was my main concern, was my kidneys, because I was like, oh no, I really need those now. They need to be working overtime. So I was kind of panicking. So then that went on, I think, for like 2-3 weeks, the bleeding. And at that point, Patrick and I had kind of just agreed, basically for the rest of March, I was kind of on like modified bed rest. Didn't really do much around the house. Didn't really do a lot around the house. When Patrick wasn't home, like, I really didn't do anything. And then when he was home, it was kind of me directing him how to do things. So that was really stressful because I'm not a clean freak, but I like the house clean, and at least tidy, and not being able to do it and basically just being told to sit in bed, which, given they weren't doctor's orders, but a lot of the videos that I had saw and watched, and Patrick and I watched, that was a lot of the recommendations from some of the high-risk doctors, because at this point I had not seen a high-risk doctor, and it wasn't even offered to me at that point. And even talking with my insurance, unless I was already seeing a high-risk doctor for like infertility issues, they wouldn't pay for it, so it would have to be out of pocket. So I was like, okay, you know, what harm can it do, you know, to be not a little lazy, but just be more cautious. So that's basically what I did for like 3 weeks. Then we had our next appointment. Let me go back. So we had the first ultrasound with our OB on March 8th. And Patrick and I were ecstatic. My first CNA class, because currently I'm teaching CNA, graduated on the 10th, and I told them that I was pregnant with twins, and they were all so excited. I think they had already kind of guessed, because I had gone from like standing and lecturing to sitting and lecturing, and like sitting and watching them do their skills. So I think they'd already kind of like clued in on what was going on. So I thought that was kind of funny. Then we had our next appointment on the 25th of March, and we got to see them again. And twin A is on my right side, and twin B, so A and B, because they go like whoever's closest to your cervix, twin B sits on my left. So at that point, on the 26th, they saw no signs of the hematoma. They couldn't even find a sign that it was there. That was still with me being probed. I was still being probed at that point. And that was saying I was 10 weeks and 4 days, because they were still going off of my last menstrual cycle. So, but they were measuring just fine. Their heart rates were really good. So at this point, I felt really good. The hematoma was gone. The OB doctor was just like, hey, this is a milestone. You know, you're making it out of the danger zone. And we had a lot of friends who were announcing that they were pregnant also at this time. So I was like, I really want to tell the world. At that point, you know, the people in my life that I daily see knew. When we found out that it was twins and got our first ultrasound pictures, Patrick literally drove me all around town to tell everybody and their brother that we were pregnant with twins. So, which was super fun to see him super excited, and he's still super excited. So we basically made, I'll post it here and I'll probably make it one of the title sequences for this. A little, the Michael babies are coming in October. So basically saying, hey yo, we're having twins. And everybody was super ecstatic and happy for us, and so many loving words, so many advice from people that I know that have had twins and stuff like that. So that was super great. What else happened in our first trimester? We had 2 baby horses born. One of them was a surprise baby that we didn't know she was pregnant. The other one we had waited for. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, basically we, that was like all of our appointments within the first trimester. I'm still doing take it easy, basically, as Patrick calls it. I mean, not being super active, but being as active. Like, I don't do a lot of heavy lifting of the stuff, like laundry and stuff like that, till he gets home, which I hate, but it's something that he really cares about, so I'll let it be. Then for the symptoms, thank gosh, I've had only like minor nausea, which, you know, has been okay. Most of the time I'm just hungry or thirsty, so I eat or drink, and that's totally fine. My nipples, my boobs were my first indicators I was pregnant. Literally putting my shirt on, putting my bra on, like I could feel where it was touching, and it was so distracting. And I mean, it hurt, but it wasn't like super painful. But it was like something I couldn't like put it in the back of my mind and continue with what I was doing during the day. Like, it was just like, oh my god, my boobs hurt, but I need to finish this paper, but oh my god, my boobs hurt. So it was very distracting. So that was kind of my first really big sign that I was pregnant. I had no food aversions, and I've had no food aversions since I've been pregnant. Besides, like, cooking food, that just doesn't appeal to me at all. Like, no. Doing dishes, no. No, fam. My fridge smells absolutely disgusting. Strangely, our toilet, even though it is clean, like, it is clean, it's got a bajillion 5 little Scentsy things in it, it smells ratchet hell. Don't know about that, because other toilets don't smell bad, but our toilet smells bad to me. So strange. The amount of thirst, the Sahara Desert. I'm usually a very oily person, so I've been dry, like the most driest person I know. The sniffles, basically sounding like you have a freaking cold 24/7. Texas allergy season hit, which, let me tell you, it sucks. So that sucked even more for me, because I really was struggling during that time. Basically fatigue, and I still feel it now. Like, I can get up and do, like, I feel like what most people feel like, I'm guessing, because some of my friends who have been pregnant before, like, we'll get up and we'll go do a few things, and then I sit down and I'm like out of breath, winded, and like need a nap, and they're like, Emily, you're only like in the first little get. And I was like, I know. So I didn't really buy a lot of pregnancy clothes at the beginning of the first trimester, because I was like so afraid that I was going to lose them, and then I was going to do something with these clothes and not wear them. So I was so freaking out. However, my pants stopped fitting around 12 weeks. So I was like, great. And a lot of my like professional work pants stopped fitting. So I was like, oh no. So went and got a few things that I knew that would fit and work for a while. But basically Patrick made me cave and buy like actual maternity clothes. So I may do a video on that because I quite like what I got. My hot girl summer is going to consist of me in a pool, which I'm so ecstatic about. And actually they're kind of moving right now. But yeah, my first trimester was basically just wretched boob pain. Like the worst boob pain I've ever felt in my life. And I could not get over that boob pain. They still hurt now. And now I'm in my second trimester. I still feel exhausted. I had one of my worst days with nausea the other day. But yeah. Besides the subcarnot hematoma, that's kind of all that's really gone on in my first trimester. So that is my recap for that. And then I'm going to get into filming these few weeks in my second trimester. I don't even know what's going on. That's another thing. My brain is gone. I literally left my $2,000 laptop sitting on a desk in the middle of a classroom. And thank God it is in the nursing classrooms, like, because we have like a whole floor. Because basically I got a text that morning being like, hey, Emily, your laptop was in XYZ room. We put it in your office. Love you. And I was like, oh my gosh, if Patrick ever found out, I'd be dead. I'd be dead.